Hi, it's Derek here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And sorry about the delay, but after the last video I did say I would come back and do a sample or two in Vlookup with Approximate match. Now, just a quick reminder, this was the content of the last video. It was Vlookup using exact match, and in theory anytime you're going to be looking up text, which we were here in this Vlookup here, we were looking up employee 8 from within this table here. Actually, the easier way would just to be do this from work plan. We were looking up employee from work plan, and we were wanting to return some values stored within the columns within that table. And straightforward VLOOKUP, we were wanting to look up employee 8, return the machine number, the panel they were working on, and how many items they had output. So in the example that's showing there, we were looking up employee 8, and employee 8 looked up, it returned machine number 8, looking up front end panels, and output 262 units. We change this here to employee 4. Employee 4 was working on machine 4, working on sides panels, and output 265. Now this VLOOKUP, the three VLOOKUPs that are at work here, we're all looking up with the final argument set to 0. And just for this quick tutorial, you could also have false instead of 0. This whole bit here rings true on a VLOOKUP with an exact match or with the approximate match. 1 equals true and 0 equals false. You can use either. You can either use true in your formula, or you can use false in your formula, or you can replace the word false with a 0, or you can place the word true with a 1, which I've done here. False will give you an exact match, true will give you an approximate match. So yeah, that's just a quick recap on this last video. Now, we did these samples that day. In this one here, we actually used the columns function to select what column we were looking in. But from this table of 4, we were looking in column, we were wanting to return values in column 2, column 3, column 4. 4, 3, 2. And in each argument it was exact. Now, going to do a couple of samples today, and I've got them hidden away here. In fact, why don't I hide? I want to hide these, and I'm going to hide these ones here. Now, just for your information, while I'm doing these videos, whenever I'm doing them, when I try to right click, it seems to be my right click is accelerated somewhat, and I think it's to do with the video recorder software that I use. So if sometimes you'll see me clicking and then double click and then double click, it's not because I've got over clickety fingers, it's just because my right click doesn't always work properly when I'm recording. But that's an aside. Okay, now this set of samples is VLOOKUP using approximate match. This same argument at the end holds true. You can either use the word false if you're looking for an exact match, and you can use the word true if you're looking for an approximate match. You can replace the words with either 0 or 1, as we will do when we go through this example. Okay, in this grades table we're going to use the approximate match, but we're also going to use the exact match. Now, we want to look up a test score. Now these numbers here are going to change as I'm doing this sample. I've got a randomizing formula, the rand between formula, and this will give me a random number every time I hit F9 and refresh my screen. It gives me random numbers, which is handy if you're making a sample you want to show different results. So rand between is at work there. So if you're looking at the screen and you think I looked there and that was a different result a minute ago, well, that's why it's randomizing. And whenever you enter a formula, hit enter, it'll change the what you're seeing on screen. Okay, we want to look up this test score, and in this very first example will be for student 1, and the score we're looking up is 140 at this time, and we're going to look up this lookup table here. And what Vlookup will do, will take 140, it will come down here. Now, a couple of things to tell you about this table. At the moment the table's not got a name. I'm going to give it a name. It makes it a lot easier on the eye in the formula. So we're just going to highlight this table just now. Table's all highlighted, and I'm going to go into the name dialog box, and we're just going to give it a name. Let's just call it grade table. If you're putting a two-worded name to any or any more than one word name to any of your tables, you can't have a space. Usually if you're separating the word, separate using a capital letter just to make it easier on your eye. We're going to call that grade table. Now I've included the headers. You don't have to include the headers. You could have just selected this lot here and called them grade table. So always check that you have the whole area selected that you want to. That's fine. Just try to hide my email address there. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to take that and move it over to here out the way. By the way, if any is look at the sample and want to email me, that's my email address, derek_mac@sky.com. Always happy to answer your emails, and email me a sample or give me advice on what you want in your sample. I will have a look and see if there's anything I can do for you. But back to this sample now. So we're going to look up test score in this column here. We're going to match it against the scores in this table here, in this column of the table here, and we're going to return the grade appropriate for that score. It's not very scientific how it arrived at these scores to the grade. It's really just my own way of thinking, so they don't actually, possibly not anywhere even close to how it would be done in a normal school or classroom, but there you go. This table that's carrying the grade hurdles, if you like, and by this hurdle I mean if somebody scores less than 50 in their test, they're going to fall into this category here. So any scores between 0 and up to but not including 50 will be getting a grade G. Any scores of 50 up to 75, but up to and not including 75, so it would be 50 to 74 inclusive, will get a grade F. Scores from 75 up to 99 will get a grade E. And what Vlookup does, it will take this score, it will come down the grades hurdles, if you like, and it will look at the score there at 79, it will come down here and it will look all the way down until it finds a number higher than the lookup value. In this case it would be looking at 79, it would come down here, it would hit 100 because that's higher, and then it would come back to the next value lower than the lookup value. So in this case it would be 75. And the next one down, 175, it would come down the grades table, look up this column here, it it would hit 185 because that's higher, and it would come back down and settle on 150, the next score lower than the value that you found there. Now, once it's found that value in this column here, we're then going to return a grade appropriate for that score, and then we're going to use another VLOOKUP to return a grade comment, and for that we'll need an exact match. So let's do the first one. So equals VLOOKUP. Our lookup value is there. We're going to lock this on the column. We don't need to because we're going to be changing things, but we'll lock it on the column, comma. Now our table array was renamed the table, so let's press F3 and you'll get the paste name dialog box. We named it appropriately, grade table, comma. Now our column index, our score is going to be looking up in column 1, so it's anything higher than column 1 if we want to return another value. So from column 2 we're going to select our grade, and our range lookup, just like it says in here, you can have true or false. We're wanting true in this occasion because it's an approximate match, and I'm going to go with 1. And just to be a little more confusion, we can actually leave that last argument off. When you see square brackets around an argument in a formula like this, if it's appropriate you can leave that argument off. The default when you leave it off is true. So just to see what this first one's done, 135, it came down the grade hurdles, bumped into 150 and came back and settled on the next score lower than the lookup value. So grade score of 135 came down the grade hurdles, it hit the first score that was higher than the lookup value and settled on the next score that was lower or equal to the lookup value. And just to prove that, if I change that to 135, no good, everything fails. Let's just for a second type 135 in here, and you see it matches exact. If I type 136 in here, it's going to give you a different grade. It's not going to give. That's higher than the lookup value, so it then bumps back to the next score lower than the lookup value. Control Z will undo what I've just did. Control Z and Control Z. So that's kind of how you do that. Just for the sake of this video, I'm going to leave the last argument on, and I will do on these videos, but for approximate match you can leave the last argument off. So the next value is 100 and 161. Oh look, they're all sitting on B's. I'll hit F3 a couple of times. Now, as you can see, the lookup value is 128. Comes down the grade hurdles column, gets to the next score that's higher than the lookup value, in this case it's 150, and drops back to the next score lower than the lookup value, and from there that's where it gets the grade. 178 does exactly the same, hits that value that's higher than it and drops back to the first value lower than it, and for that we get a B grade. And 59 again goes to the next hurdle higher and drops back to the next score that is lower or equal. So you get an F. So if we just finish this whole column, you see the grades. Now sometimes it's good to couple these VLOOKUPs up. Let's just drag this along. I locked it on a column, so our score will be fine and we'll have if I change the column number on this, so instead of looking up column 2 to return the grade from here in column 2, we're wanting to find this comment here that's appropriate for each grade. And if I just go back here and change the column number, you'll see the difference of what approximate match does. Now, although we're returning text here, the lookup value is still looking up this table and we're still returning an approximate match. So don't be confused that when you're looking up text you'll have a exact match you're wanting. When you're looking up numbers, in this case you can look exact matches up, and if we had that exact match for our final argument, if we change this to a 0, you see you're going to get an NA, and you'll continually get an NA until we have a matching score, and just so happens we match 100 with 100. So for a table setup the way we have it set up and the way we're looking up the scores, we're actually wanting, although we're returning a value that's text, what we're looking up is a figure, and we're looking up against our sorted ascending table and returning an approximate match. Okay, the next example is it's an auction sales room, and at each sale there's a commission to be calculated, and we have to calculate the commission rate based on this table, the amount of commission and total purchase price. Now the commission rate we're going to use this Vlookup table here, again sorted ascending. The commission doesn't have to be sorted ascending, you can have different commissions, whatever you want here, it doesn't matter, but this part of it here where you're going to look up, your lookup value is going to be looking up against this table here. So this table here needs to be sorted ascending. So again, just to make your formulas look better, let's just give this a name and we'll call it column table. You don't have to call them table every time, I prefer to. When you're looking up a table, it's a table. If you're looking up a column, it's a column. So in general, I'll always name, if I'm naming a column something, I would just call it sales column, or SM column, salesman column. If I'm looking up a row of something, I'll give it row as being a prefix. That's just a personal preference, you don't have to do that. But when I'm looking up a table, I will give it a table prefix. Okay, in this one we're going to be looking up the value in sales. We're going to be matching it against our table here, and whatever it is, if this sales here for instance, it's over £25,000, so in the same way as Vlookup we just did worked, you would look up your sales value from this table, and in this case 25,124, so it would come down here and bump into the next value higher than the lookup value, and then drop to the next value that's lower or equal to the lookup value, and when it finds that value there, which in this case is going to be this 25,000, we're going to return the corresponding commission percent. I've already formatted this as a percent column. We're going to return 2.5% as a commission rate. Again, I've got a randomizing formula here, so as I'm doing this formula that's going to change, but we'll get enough examples to be able to show this example happening. So we're using the Vlookup. We're going to look up that value there, and again I'm going to look on the column. Actually it doesn't matter because we're not going to be dragging that column in there, so I'll not bother looking at it. So we're looking up our sales amount and our table array. Well, we did name it, So we'll go to paste names dialog box, we'll highlight com table. Remember, to get this up you only have to press F3 and it brings up any named ranges you have. And we're just going to paste this name into the formula, comma, and our column index is going to be column 2. Column 1 is a lookup value, column 2 in this case is where we're going to be returning our percent from, so it's column 2. And again, you can leave it out, but for the sample I'm going to put it in. We'll just put in true. It could have been 1 or true, either is correct. And holding control, I'm going to tap enter. So let's just check that. So we're looking up £94,000. We come into our commission table, and in column 1 we're matching this £94,000 against the values here, and it's going to go to the next value higher. Well, we don't actually have a value higher than £94,000 here. So if you like, it goes to infinity and comes back and it drops to the next value equal to or lower than our lookup value. In this case it happens to be our top value, but this is what it's going to return, 75,000. And for our commission table, any sales 75,000 or over are going to get a commission percentage of 5%. So let's take it down a couple of rows, or 5 rows even. And a lot of these are the same, so I'm going to tap F9 a few times just to mix it up a wee bit. Okay, now the lookup value, the first row here, we're looking up 30,900. It comes down the lookup table, in column 1, goes up past 30,900 and meets the next highest figure, which in this case is 50,000, and drops back to the next value that is equal to or lower than the 30,000. In this case it's at 25,000, and from this table we're returning the value in column 2, and in this case it's 2.5%, so that's correct. This next lookup, 4,700, goes up the table, hits the first value higher, which is 25,000, and drops back to the next value equal to or lower than the lookup value. And £1 is certainly lower than 4,700, and it returned the correct percentage reach, which is 1.750%. So let's just double click and send this down, send it all the way down to the bottom of this table. And in this next and last part, just quickly, we're going to match, we're going to look for the commission, and the commission in this case is going to be our sales value times our commission rate. And at the end of this formula I'll stop the rand between working and you'll be able to see these properly. And our total purchase price is going to be our price of our sales plus the price of the commission. Again, I'm going to send that down, and then I'll stop the rand function working. And the way to do that is just hold your right click, move the table, move it back, and you'll get this dialog box here. This is one we want copy here as values only. I'm just going to hit F9, just make sure that everything is the correct price. And the way to do that is highlight everything, hit F2, puts everything in edit mode, hold control and hit enter. Nothing's changed, so that's fine. And it's the same here, hold control, hit F2, hold control, hit enter. The reason you do that is because in the split second between me losing this rand between, it may well have calculated again, so that some of our formulas may have been wrong here. Now if we just change one of these to 100,000 and hit enter, this will just give you a nice, show you how this is working. So the VLOOKUP went all the way past 75,000 up to infinity for the highest number and came back and dropped to the next number lower than or equal to our lookup value. We returned what was in column 2, and in this case it's a 5% interest rate. So our commission was based on our sales times the commission rate. In this case it would have been £5,000. So the total purchase price was going to be our sales plus the commission, which we calculated using the commission rate. So I hope that helps you somewhat in your approximate match. Anyone has any questions or anyone would like more samples, feel free to email me, and this video will be uploaded again to I'm just going to bring this page back. Always when you hide column A, it's always difficult to bring everything back first time round, so we'll just try and tidy this up a little bit. I'll get rid of that formula there. I'll leave that in there because I left that in there for a reason if anyone wanted to know the formula for the first set of VLOOKUPs that we did. So there you have it all. A couple of samples on approximate match. I hope my explanation wasn't too baffling for you. Yeah, some of these pupils will need to up their grades a wee bit. Not many of them sat there on A's, but there you go.